Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Your word, O Christ, is truth. Make us holy in the truth. Hallelujah. 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 May Christ be with you.
And also with you.
A reading from the Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, O Christ.
At that time, the Lord appointed 72 others, whom he sent ahead of him in pairs to every town and place he intended to visit. He said to them, "The harvest is abundant, but the laborers are few. So ask the master of the harvest to send out laborers for his harvest. Go on your way. Behold, I am sending you like lambs among wolves. Carry no money bag, no sack, no sandals, and greet no one along the way. Into whatever house you enter, first say, 'Peace to this household.' If a peaceful person lives there, your peace will rest on him. But if not, it will return to you. Stay in the same house and eat and drink what is offered to you, for the laborer deserves his payment. Do not move about from one house to another. Whatever town you enter and they welcome you, eat what is set before you. Cure the sick in it and say to them, 'The kingdom of God is at hand for you.' Whatever town you enter and they do not receive you, go out into the streets and say, 'The dust of your town that clings to our feet, even that we shake off against you.' Yet know this, the kingdom of God is at hand. I tell you, it will be more tolerable for Sodom on that day than for that town." The 72 returned rejoicing and said, "Lord, even the demons are subject to us because of your name." Jesus said, "I have observed Satan fall like lightning from the sky. Behold, I have given you the power to tread upon serpents and scorpions, and upon the full force of the enemy, and nothing will harm you. Nevertheless, do not rejoice because the spirits are subject to you, but rejoice because your names are written in heaven." This is the good news.
Praise to you, O Christ.
These readings for today, I have to say, allowed me a sigh of relief during last week, which I really needed. Most of you know that I was in an accident on my way home last Sunday as the result of a chain reaction collision. No one was hurt. I'm fine, still a little shaken, but as I said, these readers really helped me. readings really help me through the week. I still, however, have to fight to keep that feeling of relief and not allow the feelings of depression and hopelessness creep into my life. As I continue to hear of the cruelty being perpetuated by the current administration and allowed by the Congress, this was not a good week. But to the readings. The first reading has me rejoicing that I live in Western Washington, as I feel comfortable living here among, I believe, a majority of people who are woke, if you will. That is, share a concern for one another. I love that this reading portrays Yahweh as female, giving comfort to those who love Jerusalem and have finally been able to return, though the city is in ruins. It urges the people as they sit among the ruins of Jerusalem to look with the eyes of faith, that they might see not what is, but what is to be. That is a grand city that will satisfy everyone's needs as a mother's breast satisfies her baby. That message was translated in my mind to our country today. While it certainly is not physically destroyed, the climate is doing a good job of making rubble in some areas with floods, fires, tornadoes. It is my opinion that the result of those challenges, as overwhelming as they must be for the people who lose their homes and sometimes all of their possessions, are almost easier to resolve than the moral dilemma in our country today. The idea that compassion has become a dirty word in our society is bad enough. It has now, however, evolved into worse than that. Actions being performed by our government entities of plucking people out of the line when they report for an immigration hearing, and no one knowing where they are now. Or a place called Alligator Alcatraz, where the man who resides at the White House and the Secretary of Homeland Security on a visit to this shameful site laughed about how the alligators will get 63 million meals once the Latinos in this country are rounded up and put there. And when people get their Medicaid taken away, they will just have to find a job. But so will those who are staying on Medicaid. And no, of course, the minimum wage isn't going to be raised. People will just have to work harder. And if the result of all of this is that people die, well, they were going to die anyway. All of this stems from the lack of compassion and bold, overt discrimination. I'm trying to keep the message in Isaiah's reading in mind, as it tells me not to lose hope, because God is with us all the way, no matter how long it takes. We simply must place our trust in God and be faithful, and we will flourish. As hard as that is at times for me to do, I believe it is much more difficult for the woman and children whose husband and father has been kidnapped by ICE at his job. Moving on to Paul's reading, I loved reading. It means nothing whether one bothers with externals of religion or not. All that matters is that one is created anew. Peace and mercy on all who follow this rule of life. It sets priorities different from those that I learned growing up. Now, we can all have a different meaning of what being created anew means. But I believe that anybody who lives according to Jesus's examples, or what's called the golden rule, has been created anew, whether they acknowledge that or not. Thinking of others as siblings, children of God, simply human beings that we are connected to, and treating everyone with dignity and respect gives peace and mercy to everyone, the givers as well as the receivers. I happen to believe that bothering with the externals of religion is important to sustain being created anew, and reminds us of that peace and mercy that we get from God. But I also acknowledge that many get their spiritual food in other ways. And I myself would be grateful if some people would just be created anew, whether or not they join any religion. So Luke's gospel added to my efforts of keeping hope and joy in my heart. This gospel reminds us that Jesus, the Christ himself, didn't try to spread the message of God by himself. He first called the apostles, and now this gospel tells us he called 72 more. And guess what? We are part of that 72. And what does Jesus ask us to do? Here's a partial list: to heal, to spread peace, to reveal God's grace, and to take yourself lightly, keeping in mind that love is all that's needed to perform those tasks. I might add courage as well, both in Jesus's time and in ours. Jesus sends us out as lambs in the midst of wolves. That is a vivid image of vulnerability, as James Martin says in Reflection of this Gospel. But we only have to listen to one news broadcast to know that there are many, many wolves in our world. One of our daily jobs is not to become one of them. This can only be accomplished by not becoming manipulative or coercive. Don't expect to get your way or assume your ways should dominate. In our gentleness and nonviolence, which is exactly what we are called to, we will be vulnerable. We may not prevail. Wolves may still be wolves, but we will not allow their ways to continue in our presence. We will continue to bear witness, extending healing and working through justice. Lambs among wolves, there is, dare I say, quite an image for people of faith as we stand up for justice in a regime that does indeed harass, and intimidate protesters against injustice and advocates for immigrants. Jesus understands how serious this is. We who commit to living in harmony will be at risk. Yes, Jesus says it will be difficult and dangerous. There will be sacrifice and suffering involved, but don't be afraid. Jesus is there with you. Blessed are they who are persecuted. Now, I will admit I am the first one that does not want to experience persecution. My hope is that we never get to that point, though many in our country are already there. We are simply expected to do what we can do. Spread the gospel and the true Christian way of living, the way that Jesus himself taught us when he walked on this earth, and which we are reminded of in today's gospel. I know our world makes actually living Jesus's way more difficult than it should be. We can all, however, be people with peace and simply share our experiences of God in our lives. If people don't want to hear it and are not welcoming, shake the dust off of you from that encounter and move on. Still wishing that person peace. I think in our culture, it is good to wear shoes, in spite of Jesus telling his followers not to wear sandals. And also, these days, as well as back then, a walking stick is not a bad idea either, but just for self-defense. I have to say, there are plenty of actions to take in our world today to protect the vulnerable, feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and advocate for those with darker skin than us, since it doesn't seem to matter if they are immigrants or not. Many of those deeds can be done through interfaith works here in Olympia, as they are always asking for clothing, monetary donations, and time to serve the people without homes. Most charitable entities are fearing having to close due to the current administration's cutting off funding. Keep your ears open for local announcements like that. So you can help the food bank, programs like Meals on Wheels, the Alzheimer's Association, or a local church that feeds those who live on the streets or simply cannot afford to buy food. I know they and the people they serve will be grateful. What I am trying to keep in mind as day by day life seems to become more difficult in this country is those words in Isaiah, and I paraphrase for today. Look with eyes of faith that we might see not what is, but what will be a grand country that will satisfy everyone's needs as God's kingdom comes on earth as it is in heaven through our actions. My question to you to ponder is how will you help to do that in your life? I feel like I'm talking to the choir, but I would still like to challenge each one of you to discover one more small action that you can add to your repertoire of bringing God's love and peace to this world. Lest you think I'm done, I added an addendum to my homily just this morning. I was reading our book club book, Ladder to the Light, last night. And Stephen Charleston shared that as a 10-year-old, he had a mantra. He would say every day, I am determined to do good today. Something brought that to his mind, and he decided to make that his present mantra because he liked it. It announces not that he would try, hope, or wish to do something good, but that he was determined to do something good. Maybe that mantra can help each of us determined to do the same.
Amen.